Have you been to the grocery store lately? I mean, really looked at the prices? It's enough to make you choke on your organic kale. It feels like everything is getting more expensive by the minute. Filling up your gas tank feels like a luxury these days. And don't even get me started on rent. We're all feeling the pressure of the rising cost of living. It's the hot topic at dinner tables and water coolers across the country. The reality is, it's getting harder and harder to make ends meet. Wages aren't keeping pace with these rising costs, and it's putting a real strain on families and individuals. Whether you're a young professional just starting out or a seasoned worker, chances are you've felt the pinch. This isn't just about tightening our belts or cutting back on lattes. This is about a fundamental shift in our economy that's making it harder for everyday people to afford the basics. We're talking about the things we need to survive and thrive: food on the table, a roof over our heads, and the ability to get to work. So what's going on? Why are prices skyrocketing, and what can we do about it? Let's dive in and take a closer look at the factors driving up the cost of living and explore some potential solutions. Now, you might be hearing the word inflation thrown around a lot these days. And yes, inflation is a major factor in the rising cost of living. But it's not the whole story. It's important to understand the difference between the two. Think of it this way. Inflation is like the speed limit, while the cost of living is the actual distance traveled. Inflation tells us how fast prices are rising overall, but it doesn't capture the full picture of how much more we're actually paying for things over time. Let's say inflation is reported at a low 2.5%. That might sound manageable, right? But here's the catch. Even if inflation slows down, the prices of goods and services don't magically reset. Those price increases from previous years are baked into the system. So, while a 2.5% increase might not seem like much in a single year over several years, those increases add up to a hefty sum. That's why it feels like we're paying so much more for everything, even if inflation isn't making headlines every day. The cumulative effect of these price hikes is what's really hitting our wallets hard. Let's get specific. What are the biggest culprits behind these rising costs? Well, it's pretty much everything, but some areas are feeling the heat more than others. First up, there's food. Grocery bills have been steadily creeping up, and in some cases they've taken a steep climb. Supply chain disruptions, increased transportation costs, and global conflicts have all contributed to soaring food prices. Then there's housing. Whether you're renting or buying, the cost of keeping a roof over your head has become a major burden. Rents are skyrocketing in many cities, driven by a combination of factors, including increased demand, limited supply, and, you guessed it, inflation. And let's not forget about utilities. Electricity, gas, and water, those essential services we rely on every day, are also becoming more expensive. Increased energy demand, aging infrastructure, and government regulations all play a role in driving up utility costs. And of course, there's gas. We've all felt the pain at the pump. Geopolitical instability, supply chain issues, and fluctuations in global oil production have all contributed to volatile gas prices in recent years. Now here's something you might not have considered: tariffs. You know, those taxes on imported goods we hear about in the news? Well, they're not just about trade wars and international relations, they're directly impacting what you pay for everyday items. Think of tariffs like a hidden tax on consumers. When the government imposes tariffs on goods coming from other countries, those costs are passed down to importers, manufacturers, and ultimately to you and me, the consumers. Here's how it works. Let's say there's a tariff on imported steel. Those higher steel costs will increase the price of cars, appliances, and even construction materials. Suddenly, everything from a new refrigerator to a new home just got more expensive. But it doesn't stop there. Tariffs can also create shortages. When imports become more expensive, businesses might have to reduce their supply, leading to fewer choices and higher prices for consumers. The bottom line is, tariffs might sound like something that happens in the halls of government, but they're having a very real impact on your wallet. And guess what? People are starting to notice. Nearly 90% of Americans believe that tariffs will lead to even higher prices. That's a staggering statistic. It shows just how concerned people are about the impact of these trade policies on their daily lives. Think about it. If you're already struggling to afford groceries, gas, and rent, the last thing you need is another hidden tax driving up the cost of everything you buy. It's no wonder that consumer confidence has been shaky in recent months. When people are worried about the economy, they tend to cut back on spending. This can create a vicious cycle, leading to slower economic growth and potentially even job losses. So, it's not just about the direct impact of tariffs on prices, it's about the broader economic anxiety they can create. Now, you might be wondering, what are policymakers doing about all of this? Well, they've tried a few things. The Federal Reserve, for example, cut interest rates in late 2024 in an attempt to stimulate the economy. The idea was that lower interest rates would encourage borrowing and spending, giving the economy a much-needed boost. But here's the thing, it hasn't really worked. While interest rate cuts can be helpful in certain situations, they're not a magic bullet. They haven't done much to address the root causes of the rising cost of living, like supply chain disruptions, geopolitical instability, and yes, those pesky tariffs. In fact, some experts argue that interest rate cuts can actually make inflation worse in the long run. When money is cheaper to borrow, it can lead to increased demand, which in turn can push prices even higher. It's a delicate balancing act, and so far, policymakers haven't found the right formula to tame inflation and provide relief to struggling families. So, where do we go from here? Well, the first step is to stay informed. Pay attention to what's happening in the economy, both locally and globally. Read articles, watch the news, and talk to experts. The more you know about the forces shaping the cost of living, the better equipped you'll be to make informed decisions for yourself and your family. But staying informed isn't enough. We also need to demand action from our elected officials. Let them know that the rising cost of living is a top concern, and hold them accountable for finding real, sustainable solutions. We need to have serious conversations about trade policy, about addressing supply chain vulnerabilities, and about creating a more stable and equitable economy. This isn't about pointing fingers or placing blame, it's about coming together as a nation to find common-sense solutions that work for everyone. The bottom line is this: the rising cost of living is a complex issue with no easy answers. But by staying informed, engaging in thoughtful dialogue, and demanding action from our leaders, we can create a brighter economic future for ourselves and for generations to come.